All right, we are going. All right. Welcome everyone to another episode of Nerdin'In. This is episode 5.
Nerdin'In, the home of the hottest brothers of Asian descent, not in a K-pop band.
All right. Nope, that's not true at all. All right. So my name is Sean. I am calling in from mid-Michigan, an hour away from the flood. So I'm not near the flood.
I'm Craig. I'm in the Bay Area.
Piece of cake.
And I'm Jay. I'm in Lansing,
All right.
Michigan. Yeah.
Okay, Jay, can you speak up just a tad or just turn up your volume a little? All right.
So I'm going to talk about racism in Hollywood for a second. The fact that you don't have an Israeli accent doesn't mean that people should dismiss the fact that you're more talented and hotter and better at everything and a better mother and a better wife. So Omar should just realize this.
Okay, Craig, can you put that into
That should fall.
context for people that...
In context is that Natalie Portman is a better human being than Gal Gadot. And Omar is also very colorblind and person blind when it comes to women.
Is this because Gal Gadot sung Imagine on...
No, it's because
social
Gal
media?
Gadot sucks at everything compared to Natalie Portman. If Natalie Portman wanted to be Wonder Woman, she'd be better at it. And she wouldn't have to shave her armpits like a weirdo in order to take the role. And she also could be better in Fast and the Furious, but she realizes that those movies suck. She's a better dancer, and she takes up less air because she's tinier, so she wins.
All right. I'm sure we'll have plenty of more smack talk back in chat after this, but... So, Omar, shots fired.
There's a correct answer in this situation.
I do think Natalie Portman's has a bit more range than Gal Gadot.
A bit?
A lot.
Let's play a game called Who Has an Academy Award and who hasn't been in anything other than Wonder Woman and the Fast and Furious movies.
But you really think she'd be a better Wonder Woman?
I think she could be if she wanted to be, and we're going to see that because she's going to be a better Thor than Gal Gadot as a Wonder Woman.
Yeah, we'll see. Is she... Well, actually, Jane Foster wasn't that bulked up. She was just toned.
She's bulked up. There's pictures of her. She's
she's working out and taking that
bulked up.
protein. And all right.
They supposedly did the cancer stuff first, and then they bulked her up.
All right. Yeah, and so for those of you that don't know, Taika Waititi is helming Thor: Love and Thunder, which is going to be the fourth Thor movie coming out. And Natalie Portman's going to return as Jane Foster. And based off the Jason Aaron run of the book, Jane Foster becomes Thor for a good chunk when Thor becomes unworthy. After, was it? I forgot what was.
Fury whispered something to him.
Yeah, I
because
was
he
trying to
knew
remember
it.
the storyline, but I couldn't remember the storyline.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Fury whispered something to him, and he couldn't pick up the hammer anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a lot of people thought it was a goofy idea that, kind of borrowed off of a What If story, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope the movie goes well. Hello, Raymond. You're awake. All right. So we got a couple subjects today. So aside from Natalie Portman, Craig, who is your other celebrity crush?
We should talk about Vanessa Morgan and the fact that she's one of the few actresses that's bringing up bad television shows, and that I'm sure other people can relate to the fact that there are some actresses that kind of transcend their television show, and Vanessa Morgan's done it twice. She's done it with My Babysitter is a Vampire, which was a ridiculous Canadian show. Now she's currently... Oh, it's not good, but she acts her butt off in it. and she's currently doing it in Riverdale, which everybody who's watched can talk about the horrible plot lines. And the fact that she's a good actress, they've kind of taken her out of the show, which is funny because she kind of does better than the other people she's in a relationship with, so they root for her instead of the other people.
Yeah,
But
she didn't have
yeah,
much to do in the last season of Riverdale.
right, and a big part. So it goes back to Amazing Spider-Man 2, where they introduced a Mary Jane in Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then test audiences liked her too much. So they had to basically scrap her from the movie, which is part of why that movie's just a mess. But they also, it's the same thing in Riverdale. They introduced her as like a romantic foil for another character. And then everybody liked her better, so they had to scrap that storyline very quickly. So now she's kind of in limbo because she was too good at her role.
Yeah, that show is just horribly written, and to the point of, the plot lines are just completely outrageous. But there are a few actors and actresses that are, they're pulling their weight even with horrible material. And yeah, Vanessa Morgan's definitely good. I like Luke Perry, and I like Cole Sprouse.
And Marisol Nichols when she's able to do anything, and Machen Amik when she tries.
I also like who's plays Sprouse's dad.
He's in Scream.
Yeah.
Jay, save us on this. Skeet Ulrich.
Skeet Ulrich, yeah. Yeah, he got him. He has those crazy eyes. So, yeah. Craig got me into the wonderful world of Riverdale. I managed to catch up finally. It's all on Netflix now.
Yes, the new season had to end because of the pandemic. I don't know if that would have made it any better, because now the last episode it's like a lot of shows where it just ended. They couldn't really finish plots. So they lost their last 3 episodes because it went from 22 to 19.
So anyone that hasn't seen that show, it's either a guilty pleasure, or I think some people like to hate watch it. Or actually, I don't know, would a teenager actually like the show?
So it's weird because I think our teenage show for our generation was probably Dawson's Creek. I think it was like Dawson's Creek and Buffy. And going back, one of those has held up and the other one has not. So it's hard to tell, because like I legitimately enjoyed watching both of those in high school, but now going back to it, I can watch Buffy. I can't watch Dawson's Creek. Did you guys ever going back to like your teenage shows, do they still hold up, and like what ones were you watching?
Jay, anything you watched back as a teen that you still could go back and revisit? Or
I think a lot of the animated ones, because that's when the Batman animated series, like
Right.
Batman Beyond and
Yep.
JLU and stuff. Is that when Buffy came out, or is that a few years?
Yeah, Buffy was like, I think Buffy ended like my junior year of high school, so
that doesn't help anyone.
about 2003 ish.
Okay. Yeah, so you were still a teen then, I think. Buffy.
And Angel was after that.
I still never got into Buffy because I didn't watch it when it was on. I watched a little bit of Angel. Buffy, and I've heard this from a lot of people, the first season is horrible, and that's what I started on, so I never got past that, like the first few episodes. So I'll probably have to just skip it and try the second season, because I did like Angel.
Yeah, I think yeah, Angel, was different. Yeah, Buffy is definitely more campy. I mean, it's based off like a really campy,
Yeah, it's
near,
supposed to be. It's
nearly
supposed to have
evil.
one foot in camp the whole time.
Yeah, and I think what else? Oh, did I watch? Smallville was like right after.
Yeah, I caught Smallville. I think Smallville was 10 freaking years, so
Yeah,
it was
fair,
forever.
fair.
But I think I caught most of Smallville when I was in college. And Supernatural is like the show that transcended because it's still going.
Yeah, our other brother, he was huge into Supernatural up until a certain season, and then he just couldn't do it anymore because I think at some point they just went a little too weird.
And I think Lost was also a big like late teen show after us. So I watched Lost, but I wasn't like super into it because I felt in that like weird age gap because I felt like adults really liked it and then like teens really liked it, and I was like in my early 20s when Lost was going on. Um, so I wasn't as invested as other people, I guess.
Yeah, I never got into Lost. That's when I started hating J.J. Abrams and his writer. Because I jumped in Lost in season 2 because my roommate was already there, and then it was just, even though I didn't have the context of season 1, the pretentious nature of the stupid mystery box format it just got on my nerves. So I could not get into Lost ever, and I probably will never watch that show.
It was I think it's 7th year anniversary of the finale was yesterday.
Okay, yeah, and it has one of those controversial endings to the series that.
So TV show finales are we will probably end up doing a whole episode on it. But I feel Lost was one of the few that it actually had a somewhat decent ending. As somebody who had to live through the How I Met Your Mother ending, like live, and all of that hate, and them having to change it because of all the hate, I feel TV shows that go longer than 4 seasons finales tend to become very difficult.
Yeah, I think there's probably more series that do not hit the landing than those that come out with a decent ending for all the characters.
Which ironically, Smallville was one of the few shows. It had been awful for years, but its finale was actually decent for that show.
All right, yeah, I only caught Smallville here and there, so I don't know how it ends.
Had the best Lex Luthor come back.
Yep, yeah, Michael Rosenbaum, yeah, was still one of the best Lex Luthors ever.
But if you're watching this live, Michael Rosenbaum is doing a online meet and greet for the pandemic this weekend and next weekend.
Oh, well, that's pretty cool. All right, yeah, send me the link after.
I will.
All right, okay, so let's move on to our main topic of the evening. That's too dramatic.
Raymond sneezing though.
Oh, all right. So we're going to be talking about role-playing games, both classic pen and paper style and also video game. There's many different types of video game RPGs as well. And yeah, so I think we'll let Craig start off, since you said you ditched us last week because you were playing D&D, which is like the granddaddy of all the RPGs.
Right. So I've played a lot of role playing games. Probably Star Wars based role playing games the most. Just because that's the lore that I'm invested in. I'm kind of sad that Fantasy Flight is up in the air with all of their products right now, because Edge of the Galaxy actually was done very well. It's one of the products that they put a lot of care and a lot of time in, and I usually like to play support classes um, in RPGs. So I was usually either a medic or an entertainer in Star Wars. I usually play cleric in D&D. Um, so I'm kind of all over the place. The one that I'm trying to get into is Vampire the Masquerade, um,
Right.
which it's one of those things where I feel like it's an interesting canon, but I feel like most people that play it are like LARPers, and like I don't do the LARPing stuff, and I don't want to get I don't want to go to a place and get bit to be able to play a game. Like that's not my
I thought you were kinky.
that's not my thing. Not into it.
All right,
So yeah, I'll let you guys talk about your history with kind of pen and paper.
well, actually, Jay, you can do a really quick comment on Vampire the Masquerade, which we attended a few of their things at Gen Con the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I see why there's a interest in it. Like I grew up liking the Universal, like Monster Mythos,
Mhm.
the Dracula, Frankenstein, werewolf stuff, and I don't mind it. I think there's this weird subculture that has kind of adapted itself to it or sprung out of it, and that's probably where a lot of the, I don't know, hate, or I don't know the right word, but I think that's where just a lot of that comes from. But yeah, they made some major mistakes, I guess, in one of the supplements that came out, and so White Wolf Publishing, who was in charge of it, basically they all got fired because they're owned by, oh gosh, might be CD Projekt or something, but they were pretty much all fired, and so now Modifius is kind of, I know Modifius is the publisher. They also do Star Trek, Fallout, and oh gosh, Conan. So those are their lines of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I've always been interested in it, but I feel like like I said, that subculture sometimes crosses over into it too much, and I'd rather just go for the stories. And so if I'm exploring any of those, I guess, themes or mechanics, sometimes I'll just import them into other systems and borrowing all those ideas.
Yeah, and I think Masquerade's they've been trying to license that everywhere right now. There's like a video game coming out for that.
I think it just hit.
It just hit. Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
they're trying to make a comeback, and yeah, we see them at Gen Con every year trying to get their new system up.
Well, they have a couple of board games coming out. The video game was like a sequel to a really popular one from the 90s. But it's an interesting thing because what I'll say, because they try to balance this idea of each one of these creatures, whether it be a vampire, werewolf, like has to fight some inner like struggle, whether that be like, okay, the vampires need to drink blood, right? Or it's called the masquerade because they're trying to hide themselves, at least many of the factions or whatever. I think though the lore is almost like too dense in some ways to explore. They have so many like tribes and clans and things like that, and so for me it's like, I don't know if I want to dive into all of that, if I just want a vampire story or a werewolf thing or something.
And I feel like D&D is getting to that point with fifth ed. I think it's almost where it's too bogged down now.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think both of you are playing D&D. What kind of format of D&D are you guys playing right now? We'll start with Jay.
Me, I'm playing in just it's not a pre-written scenario or campaign or whatever. It's something that this guy came up with. We're playing on Roll20. It's kind of difficult. I find that I'm sure as we talk through the episode, there's a lot of different type of role players. Some people just are like, okay, when's the next time I can roll my dice? In particular for combat, some people do want to, I don't know, tell the story or actually play things out. But I mean, it's been enjoyable just being able to do that, you know, with people who are across the country, in things like that. So I didn't really excuse me. I didn't really grow up playing D&D, and so the D20 system is not like. I know for some people it's their kind of like standard, just because it's what you're most familiar with, and so that's like your go-to thing. For me, it wasn't like that, and so it's interesting. I find I clash with someone that I play with because everything for him, again, he judges every system we play according to D&D. I'm like, well, it's just not intuitive for you because you're so used to this other system.
Right.
I think all systems are derivative of that, but for me, it's not quite intuitive. I just go with it. It's another system. It's fine. It works for what it does, but I don't know.
So Craig, last week you ditched us for a D&D campaign. What was it, Roll20 or?
It's a Roll20 Ravenloft campaign. It was started as something to kind of help us get through quarantine, and I had never done Ravenloft, so it's kind of a balance of some of that horror element into D&D. So yeah, I'm in a small group of so it's a small group that all of us started in the Bay Area and have kind of splintered out. So we're playing on Roll20, and it's being DM'd by someone who used to DM paid games at one of the local gaming stores. So he's kind of taking that and learning D20 along with us. So it's working well. I feel like Roll20 has adapted much better for role-playing games than it has for other board games. So it's working fairly well.
Yeah, I feel like. Oh.
Yeah, no, I have not played much D&D, so yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think Roll20, it's being utilized a lot right now during the quarantine. But I feel just in general, it is a pretty substantial toolbox, right? If you really go into it, you can make quite elaborate systems and things. So I think, I don't know, because I've run RPGs even online before, but without Roll20, everyone had like sheets and rolling dice in front of them. But it has like speeded things up. But I happen to have like two screens up. But I think you know, for people who don't, that can definitely be
right.
You know,
and
you don't have the screen space and stuff.
And people who are using it now, just because more people are home, be patient with Roll20 and Beyond D&D, because both systems, I don't think, were designed for the kind of traffic they're getting right now. So both are running a little bit slow. And Beyond D&D is Beyond D. So if you're just trying to get into Dungeons and Dragons, Beyond D&D is a great place to start. That they'll help you kind of create beginning characters and get the basics in a game.
All right. Yeah, so for like beginners, if they're gonna jump on Beyond D&D, does it have all the character sheets and all the scenarios created?
It has everything created. It doesn't have everything. So it has like, you can make like a basic monk, basic bard, whatever you're gonna do. But in order to get the advanced stuff, like if you want special magic items, or if you want to do a different college for your bard, then you have to buy the source book. But it's relatively inexpensive, and if you just want to do a basic character, everything's there.
All right, no, that's cool. Yeah. So let's see. Lately, yeah, I've been doing some group RPGs with Jay. One of them is that Star
Yeah.
Trek one that you don't like. But yeah, I mean, like Trek. If you just go to like the mechanics of the system, like you have a team with different roles, so you have all your basic RPG. Hello,
It's
Craig.
great. No, here's the funny thing. It's actually similar to the Star Wars one you're talking about. Because like so, Fantasy Flight eventually took that and turned it into their generic kind of role playing system, right? Called Genesis. And they've adopted some of their original IPs, but the symbols essentially work the same way. I think it's missing one thing because obviously they don't have like force or whatever.
Right.
The one on your yellow dice or whatever. But so that one they call it like a narrative dice system that where you track like numbers of successes, and you also have a mechanic of like threat and advantage, which is really meant to be like, so after you figure out whether you pass or fail, then there's the other kind of like narrative, storytelling prompts that you can incorporate. And the Star Trek one, like I said, it has a shared designer between the two systems. Instead of using like proprietary dice and symbols, they use D20s. But in the same way, you track the number of successes, and then you have kind of another mechanic on top of that to help you do things narratively, called either momentum or threat and stuff. So uh I do feel like the system can get in the way of the game a little bit with Star Trek, but in a way it's like you kind of you attempt to do something and then you get to describe what happens based on what you roll,
Right.
instead of always just like pass, fail, I don't know.
So a good so two good systems with that for people who are trying to get into role playing games. One is called Quags. It's the quick ass game system. It's an old RPG book that the entire source book is about that big. So basically, it's all it's all talking based and action based. You have a character you build, and then you say what actor would play that character, and then essentially it's you have like for every strength you have, you also have to have a weakness equal to it. And the best part about the game is how you get over things is like everybody has a resource of snacks, and you basically pay off the DM. So you're like going up to a werewolf, and you're like, I want to take his head off, and you give the DM a beer out of your snack pool, and he's like, all right, so you take his head off. So it's a very simple way of kind of teaching and getting people into it. The other one is Dread, which has kind of picked up a lot of momentum recently. If you go on Geek and Sundry, the creator runs campaigns on it that are a lot of fun. And if you're into horror RPGs, there's a long-term playthrough of Dread on Geek and Sundry, and there's another one uh, on tabletop. I know tabletop's kind of outdated for people now, but Will Wheaton goes through a campaign on it as well.
Yeah, Dread is the one that uses the Jenga
Yes.
pieces, right?
Well,
The original.
proprietary
Yeah.
wooden towers.
Yeah. But it basically a player is eliminated when the tower falls, so it's constantly building up this tension. But I don't want to dominate the conversation, but I think as we get more into it, I do think it's crossing over more and more with, I think, the trend of, I feel like, escape rooms and things like that, because escape room is like a completely puzzle based like
Mhm.
LARP almost. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've never done a LARP or a True Dungeon, but so of course I'm just like this is
Yeah,
complete
I've
speculation. But
I've walked by LARPs at conventions. It's the closest I've been. So
Yeah, I've
and
seen internet shows about LARP. That's about it.
and Sean, when you're at furry cons, do you role play?
I don't go to furry cons, dude.
You don't, but Scrufflemickles does. So when Scrufflemickles does, do you have to pretend you are the sheep, or are you just like Sean as Scrufflemickles?
No and no. Just whatever you just said, I don't understand, but no.
So when you're scriffing, are you a big fan or just a small fan?
Yeah, just say no to Craig, whatever Craig's rambling on about. Don't
Like
understand.
as the person who's done the least amount of pencil and paper RPGs, Sean, like what do you look for in the games? Like what would you want?
Just like the core mechanics of um what your character can do, what their characteristics are. It should they shouldn't be completely useless in the game, even though they're thematic. I want a balance of the how well the mechanic works in game and also how it ties to a character. So if you have like a character that he's good at crossword puzzles, but you're in a sci-fi, either like a action based or a horror based thing, like crossword puzzles wouldn't do anything. So
That's M. Night Shyamalan what and Lady in the Water.
I did not see that movie, and I hope I never will. But yeah, I don't need any M. Night Shyamalan twists, or like, yeah, just random mechanics that save the day or anything like that. Yeah, so I played the Star Trek one with Jay. I played D&D once at summer camp when I was in middle school, and then Jay also used to run a podcast, so we did a Cthulhu campaign on that, which was pretty fun. But we just all ended up being assholes and terrorizing the NPCs in that game.
yeah, I mean that's a common thing I think in
Yeah.
RPGs is.
Being a
Yeah,
dick to NPCs is kind of tradition.
yeah. Jay would always play the NPCs, and then we'd just sit there and harass him. But yeah, no, they're fun. You need to get a good group of people who want to play it, and you need like at least half your group to get in the role, even though there's always one person that just wants to go into the room and murder everything or exploit everything. So but yeah, we do have a we do have one player that does that in ours. But yeah, I do need to play more pen and paper types of stuff. But yeah, lately I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is, I don't know, it's sold pretty well, even though it released during the quarantine. And in a lot of the video game RPGs, you have all the systems built in. You don't have to do any of the rolling or the calculating. So with
Which
Final Fantasy,
it's yeah. Go ahead.
well, yeah, with this one, it brings back the old materia system from the original. So you're slotting the different magic and buffs that you can get with the characters, and you can control, if your person, is like more like a tank that can just soak damage, or they're gonna be like a healer, or just a magic attacker, or just melee attacker. So it
Like,
has.
can you be red in the game?
You cannot be red in the game yet.
Useless.
Red can help you though. So red only came in like the last 1.5 chapters. So they were like, yeah, we're not gonna take the time to program him or let people, only play him for a chapter and a half. But yeah, the ending of it and a lot of the game they've either added on or just expanded a lot of stuff. But the materia system is pretty similar. You're slotting your weapons and your different trinkets that you're wearing. And then yeah, there's a lot more materia, and the summons, they work a little different. They're not just oh, bring out the summon and win the round. They sit there as non-controllable characters while you're in a fight. And I feel like the normal mode, if you're used to video game RPGs, you're not going to have too much of a challenge. But hard mode, you definitely have to worry more about your specs on your characters and stuff. So right now I'm still stuck beating one of the bosses in on hard mode. So eventually I'll get through that, but I need to respec some of my characters.
Does the boss have one wing?
No, we're not fighting that boss. We're fighting a hidden boss after you beat it, so you can only play it in hard mode.
So let's talk more about you going into hard mode.
All right, Jay, what video game RPGs have you been playing?
Not a lot, actually. Like in terms of a traditional RPG, I don't think I have in a while. I was playing through FF6 with my son on the SNES Classic, and I would like to finish that, but I guess recently, yeah, Craig, you'll love this. He started playing Star Trek Online MMO RPG. No, I feel like really what RPGs have evolved a lot, or so many games like nowadays have a leveling up system and like a mechanic of that with skills and stuff. But I haven't played like a traditional, I think, RPG in a while. Most of mine are like action adventure RPG. Because I played Lord of the Rings, Shadow of Mordor, which is like open world. In some ways, very RPG.
Right.
Like, but I would consider it more of an action game or action RPG, right? If you really wanted to push it.
Yeah, it's more like the Arkham games than I mean, it has RPG elements, but it's more like the Arkham games in terms of the combat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, even like FF7 remake.
All 10 for you.
All right, we're recording. All right, so right where we left off, we're back now. So yeah, like even FF7 remake now, it's a lot more actiony. It's probably closer to like Vagrant Story, where you have a bunch of the hack and slash, and then you can hit the trigger button to go into slow-mo and pick, various targets or body parts to hit. So yeah, a lot of the RPGs are going more action, and like stuff like, I hate to mention it, Kingdom Hearts is definitely like a lot more action than RPG stuff. So Craig, what kind of video game related RPGs are you playing?
I'm always a JRPG person. So I'm actually going back and beating Chrono Trigger again. I'm in the minority where Chrono Cross is one of my favorite video games of all time. So I want to, for the first time, I'm trying to play Trigger and then Cross back to back to see if it makes more sense as a sequel. Because even though I love Cross, it doesn't feel like a sequel. But yeah, I've always been much more of a JRPG person than a Western RPG. Western, other than the first Mass Effect and Knights of the Old Republic, there hasn't been many that I've gotten overly invested in.
Did you ever get into like Fallout or anything like
No,
that?
I couldn't get into Fallout. I did enjoy Dragon Age 1. Dragon Age 2 became a bit of a slog, and Inquisition I just never could get into.
Yeah, I haven't played much of the Western stuff. Yeah, most of the stuff I play is JRPGs, and even nowadays, like, yeah, less and less of those. But yeah, I bought Persona 5, and that's still sitting in shrink wrap on my backlog.
Persona 5 was I still think I like 4 better, but I got through it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in retrospect, yeah, say like 4 and 3 are better than 5, and then I know 5 just dropped a, not, what do you call it? It's not a remake. It's like a
Remaster.
remaster. Yeah, they put in new levels, and they shortened some parts and then added some other stuff. But I mean, yeah, I mean, 5 sold really well, I think, and then this remastered is doing pretty well. But yeah, are there any JRPGs you're looking for on the horizon?
Not necessarily. So I feel before the 7 remake came out, a lot of people were saying that JRPGs were kind of dead just because of the past, like Final Fantasy 15, you're basically a boy band driving around in a car trying to fix it. So a lot of people took that as the end of mainstream JRPGs. A lot of people were looking to actually the Switch and the 3DS for RPGs, but I think Final Fantasy VII's remake selling so well has reinvigorated the genre a little bit. So I want to see what comes out and what ideas they get from it.
Yeah, let's see. I know Jay used to play a lot more JRPGs than I did, but yeah, are you even playing like video game RPGs right now?
No, like I said, except for, I mean, I guess I started playing Star Trek Online a little bit, but uh, I don't know. I'm not really for that type of grind game, really. Um, I just, not that I don't sink time into video games, but it feels like sometimes more of a time sink, right? Like I'll put hours playing matches of like Battlefield or I play um, a card game online called Netrunner, and I'll spend hours doing that. But it, because you get in so many matches, it feels like you can cut it off in less time than like exploring around, the world of an RPG or something like that. Where it
Yeah,
feels like
like
you
what
have to
were
do that to progress, even though
yeah,
you
you
don't
used to
really.
play a lot on PS2 and PS3, so like what were some of the major ones that you were playing back then?
Off the top of my head,
I know Dot Hack Sign was one of your go-tos.
yeah, I never really finished the series, and then I don't know. I always play odd things. I like Breath of Fire 4 a lot. That was PlayStation 1
Yeah.
days, but played this really weird PS2 one. Oh, this is hilarious. It was like a tank RPG. You were a tank. This is before World of Tanks and all that, and there was like a whole like weird story, and yeah, you would go around and just like upgrade your tank with like it was like a really bad graphics. Gosh, what was it called?
So you were at the actual tank, not like the tank crew?
Yeah. What is it called? Okay, it was called Seek and Destroy, but
Oh, I know what you were. You also played Valkyria, right?
Yeah, that was PS3.
Valkyria is amazing. Valkyria Chronicles is a great game that I feel everybody should play if they haven't.
Yeah, I did start playing that again actually with my kid's been watching me play that just because it's like, I don't know, appropriate enough for kids. There's not bad stuff.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah,
Valkyria, you're like a tank crew in a fictionalized World War II setting. It's a cel-shaded game made by Sega. And then the first one, yeah, it's just a lot of turn-based mechanics where you're doing basically skirmish battles with small squads.
Yeah, it's a combination of an RTS RPG, even some third person shooter stuff thrown in.
yeah, I like the way they did that and blended it together. Looks and plays really well. I got the PS4 remaster or whatever, so
All right.
yeah, looks even better.
Yeah, I still have the PS3 disc that I bought for super cheap and just never got a chance to really play through it. Did you guys play any of the sequels for it?
No.
I played all 4.
Okay, what did you think of this others?
I like
What was the best?
one is by far one is just it's such a great game. And I feel what happened was they kind of lived off of one where they're like, oh, we have this great concept. They're like, we can keep pushing it. And I feel like that they didn't really get into innovation. I think was where they kind of misstepped. But the mechanics of the game are so fun and I played one so many times that just getting more levels in it was never a bad thing.
All right, yeah, because I remember seeing like the previews for I think it was the third one. There's like a superhuman person, and I just thought that kind of took it away from the squad battles with just normal soldiers and stuff.
Right. And how are you doing with Hey Beautiful Boyfriend?
I haven't yet to try that. So this is an RPG. Is it a visual novel or more?
No, it's a romance-based RPG.
It's a romance-based RPG that Craig wanted me to try, where you're in a weird future where birds are now the dominant species of the world,
Mm-hmm.
and so birds and humans are like at odds with each other. So in order to make peace with each other, you're a human sent to an all birds school as a gesture of peacemaking. And then
Not just peace.
so it's also a dating simulator where is it pigeons or just birds?
It's mainly pigeons.
Okay, so
The other birds are the bad guys.
so you have your like options of dating different pigeons, and that is the game.
And it's amazing.
So I think Craig can tell us more about it because he's actually played it.
No, it's so Japanese, like the dating sim RPGs have gotten really weird, but really like awesome because they're like, we're known as this creepy culture, so we're just gonna go full bore into it. So if you have a chance to play Hey Beautiful Boyfriend, it's free on the PlayStation Network every now and then. It's hilarious and fun. And also Doki Doki Literature Club, which the less I tell you about Doki Doki Literature Club, the better. Just everybody should play that game. Or if you really don't want to play a game, just watch the Game Grumps full walkthrough of it. It's such a great game.
I've been semi-spoiled, but yeah, that game just gets insane the more you go into it. But yeah, I've tried one of the, I guess, visual novels, Steins Gate. I started that, so I'll probably try to finish that one day. But yeah, before that, I hadn't really tried any of the visual novel types of. I don't even, are they even considered RPGs or?
some people consider them, but I don't necessarily.
Then there's like Phoenix Wright. That's just a weird puzzle game, or is that RPG?
I don't know.
It
I don't know if you call it RPG. You don't really level up.
Oh, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's visual novel. It feels like it. I mean, you do interact. It's
Like you
its
do
own
step
thing.
into the character's shoes, so
Yeah.
in that way, it's an RPG.
Well,
But like,
you step in every character's shoes when you're playing the game. All right, so we won't consider that an RPG.
um,
Other,
if people are looking to transfer between pencil and paper and video games or back and forth, Knights of the Old Republic 1, they literally took a pencil and paper RPG and made it into a video game. It shows the die rolls as you're playing. So that's a good first start for transitioning between the two.
it's also like super cheap on Steam, like all the time. Whenever Steam has a major sale, yeah, Knights of the Old Republic is super cheap on there. I think I
Right,
bought
and
it for under $5.
it's to me it's more easily accessible than Neverwinter Nights, which tried to do it with Dungeons and Dragons, which I don't know if either of you have played. Um, it feels very bogged down to me.
All right. So like MMO wise, have you guys ever gotten into anything? I think we all played DC Universe at some point, and me and Craig actually, one of our old Clicks players is working for the company now. But yeah, I think most of us got to level 30 and then stopped.
Oh no, I was hardcore in DCUO
Okay.
for a while.
What
We
was
had
your
a
who was your mentor that you picked in it?
so for my final character I was magic based, but I still had Batman as my mentor. I found a
Alright.
glitch in the game.
I was martial artist, but yeah, Batman as the mentor. Yeah, I got to level 30, and then our little clan kind of broke up after that.
Well, it sucks because we were just getting into it, but I can't remember. I think all of us had like circumstances come up because we
Yeah.
all got to level 30, and then someone got like a premium subscription, so we could like access everything, and then we all like dropped it. It was
Yeah, we my group, we all had premium subscriptions and we were all majorly into it. We were doing all the storyline. DCUO it's still a good game. It's still fun. It's just so Jack Emmert, who's one of the bosses that we actually know and talk with, he's obsessed with different types of currencies. So like you can tell when Jack's one of the heads of an RPG because it has like 19,000 different types of currency, and that's when I started to get frustrated with DCUO. But my start was in EverQuest when I was in kind of junior high and high school. I played EverQuest all the time.
Yeah, I mean that was huge back then. It was one of the first major ones that everyone got into before, way before WoW and anything like that. That and like what Ultima Online or
Ultima it's still huge. I tried to log into EverQuest 2. I think it was a month ago just to see what it is, and that game's looking rough.
okay. Yeah, I never, aside from DC, UO, like, because I'm broke most of the time and also a cheapskate. I don't pay subscriptions to anything, so a lot of the stuff that costs a monthly subscription, I haven't really gotten into. So like WoW or you know, EverQuest stuff. Like, yeah, I never really played that, and like up until undergrad, like we just didn't have a good internet connection. I mean, it just wasn't around, and we didn't have it. We just had 56K back when I was growing up. So yeah, we didn't. My dad refused to get AOL, so yeah, broadband speeds were were not a thing for
Rough.
us.
And Jay, did you play Lotro at all, or was that never on the horizon for you?
no, just because I never had and still really don't have like gaming capable computer, and so our kind of online play was limited to what was available on consoles. So the most I got into like PC gaming, I got in early on League of Legends,
Hmm.
and I still enjoy watching that, but don't really play it much. Like I said, I got Star Trek Online because it came out, and really DC Universe because it came out for console.
Right. I was gonna say the console-based MMOs have gotten much better than when I had to buy a custom modem for my PS2 for
Yeah.
Final
Oh, yeah.
Fantasy 11.
Yeah, I bought that modem and I used it for one game, and then that lasted 3 months, and yeah, never used it again.
Yeah. I mean, DCO was a lot of fun, I think, playing, and I know I would enjoy probably still because they still releasing stuff for it. Yeah.
Pretty much every month. Right now it's
Birds of Prey, or
no, it's Batman Metal right now. So
But I just mean like these free to play ones. There is a lot of content. I feel like if you don't care about like max statting and all
min-maxing
that,
stuff.
yeah, I think there's so much fun. Like my kid is 8. He loves Star Trek Online because he doesn't care really that the ground combat's terrible. Ship combat super fun, and he just flies around like blowing stuff up. So and playing through this story and so I think it's really, even though I hate the free to play model in some ways, right? I get why they do it. They make
more
a
money.
lot more money, yeah. Which more power to them. But I don't know. This is this is going to other territory. I feel like I don't like this how mobile games have completely adopted this model of like free to play with like paid upgrades. Because I feel like I can't get almost like a free like a all-in-one package where I buy the game and I can just play it. And if I want extra expansions or stuff, right, where it's not tied to this, just grind it out, but just give me a story that I can finish. That's what I would like long for in many mobile in particular games.
And that's what I'm worried about with Final Fantasy 16 when it does come, is that I'm gonna buy, like, if I don't buy a season pass, I'm gonna get a chapter and then have to buy a DLC in 2 months for the next piece of it.
Yeah, for sure. Like honestly, like people will complain about like some modern games being too short or whatever, but I feel like if it's done right, you really enjoy that experience.
Mhm.
Like like things like Last of Us or Uncharted and stuff. Just give me a nice story and just knock it out, or give me a reason to explore beyond like
Right.
a paywall reason, right? Let's
Right.
make you pay if you want to do it faster.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back to the last game that I played that was like a full story in one game. That probably Men of Medan, but before that it was probably a long time since I played like a fully satisfying story in a game.
Yeah, because I mean I played Resident Evil 2 remake recently, and speed runs of that are like less than an hour,
Right.
but it took me I don't know how many hours, but I had a great time while doing it. It was
Hmm.
like, and that's cool. Do I wish there's more? Sure, maybe after I'm done, but I got it. I played it for like well, I got it for free. It was a present. But it was like totally worth it, and I don't think it needs, what am I trying to say? I would hate it if that game was like, yeah, you get to a certain point and then to play the next chapter you got to pay more, or
Right. And
How-
like it's just a different era. Like I just recently watched Sean play Heavy Rain again, which I love that game. And that game is so story based, and I don't know when RPGs will, or if they ever will, get back to that.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
think
how is
it'll
the
happen again, but it's gonna be a rare. Just some studio just doesn't care about the current trends and wants to do something more old school. Um,
I wonder how is Death Stranding? Like,
I did not play it. I heard it's very you're a courier, and there's like a unknown invisible threat to everyone. So it's kind of like the current COVID climate where you're a FedEx or UPS person running around and trying not to get killed by an invisible threat. But it's I guess it's not a straight action game. It's just a weird uh you're like a delivery man. But I
Yeah,
did not play it.
I just mean in terms of like story and stuff.
Story and stuff, I just heard it was weird. I have no idea what the story is like. Seen some seen some of the trailers here and there and some clips, but I don't know if Craig knows more than me about
I haven't played it. Um, so video games to me had a huge dip this year because first Madden was just like shovelwared off, and then WWE 2K20 was quite possibly the worst job a video game ever done. Um,
I
so
heard
video
that.
games, yeah, video games took a huge hit for me this year, where I'm just like, okay, instead of buying new games, I'm just gonna go back to Overwatch. So
You also re-explored FF8 remaster, right?
yes, FF8 gets FF8 gets so much undue hate because it doesn't have the best magic system, but I mean for a game it's great. It's sandwiched between 7 and 9, which
A
a
lot of
lot
people
of
consider
people
their number ones, yeah.
right, and then 10 was right after 9. So
And then
um
yeah,
a lot of people don't give it its credit when it has probably so as far as like a support party, it has by far probably the best, like most well-rounded, fun support character story, and Squall is so unintentionally hilarious. Um, I think it was intended by Square Enix. I don't think he's trying to be funny, but I think Square Enix did a great job of making him funny. Um,
because
it's just
he's trying to be like stoic and badass, but he just comes off as
he comes off
being
as
a
like a
dork.
petulant child, and I
Yeah.
think that's what Square Enix wanted, and it gets so much undue hate because it was after 7. Um, so I think the remaster is something that should be revisited more, and the storyline for that game is bonkers. Um,
Yeah, I
if
never got to finish it. I actually called out one of our friends on Facebook today because he borrowed my FF8 copy like 10 years ago and still hasn't returned it. So Steve, you bastard, give me my FF8 back so I can finally complete that game.
Yeah, if you want some like tinfoil hat theories, that game has some. If you go onto the Reddit
All
for
right.
it,
I got stuck playing the card game and then just stopped playing the main game.
yeah, that was my problem with 10. Is I
The
got deep into
Butterball game.
Blitzball. Once I got deep into Blitzball, I'm like, I don't need to play the main game. Like as much as I was enjoying the storyline and the mechanics of that game, I'm like, I don't need to. I can just play Blitzball.
Yeah, because like yeah, it was fun trying to figure out how the card game worked and then trying to collect all the really rare ones, getting people to drop it and stuff. So yeah, I stopped playing the main game and just played that until someone stole my game. So but yeah, like yeah, I enjoyed 8 the little I played of it. Yeah, 6 through 9 I enjoyed. 10 for some reason I didn't like Blitzball, so that's probably why I didn't like it. Well, and the voice acting was just horrendous. That kind of took me out of the game.
It, it was so the story for 10 is very touching, and so I have a soft spot in my heart because right after I got my wisdom teeth out, I played and beat all of 10 while I couldn't really do much. So I have a soft spot for that game, but I can't defend the voice acting. It's just
It's so bad, man.
it's the first time they were trying and they were
Yeah, I actually got I do have a copy of the international version, so I might go back and play it with the Japanese audio, just so I can stand the voice acting.
yeah. And Titus is based off of a J-pop star. So the
That's
fact that they got him in it is like, yeah.
yeah, that alone sounds horrible. And I hated his stupid outfit. He had overalls where one short leg was like the fabric was longer than the other one. He just looked like a little kid who had a bad tailor.
But nobody can beat Squall. He has a face scar and he has like a leather jacket with fur.
Yeah, no, yeah. Squall's outfit, I like it better than Cloud's or most other people. But yeah, six is still
It's
up.
not Cecil's, but
yeah, 6 is still up there for me. Just the soundtrack and then the goofy side characters. I think that's what made it for me.
Yeah, I played a lot of 8. I think I didn't finish a lot of RPGs. I always got to like literally the last boss is all I had to do. I did that in 8 and in
I did that in 7.
and in Breath of Fire 4.
Yeah. We have your PS1 with the little LCD screen somewhere. We should dig that
really?
out and have you
Yeah,
finish.
no, I've been wanting to because
I think it's in our parents' basement somewhere. I don't know where it is.
yeah, I still haven't beaten Legend of Dragoon is another one that I
Yeah,
just
that's
never
very
finished.
high regarded by a lot of people.
yeah, Xenogears. Like a lot of even the Super Nintendo classics, like even FF6 I never beat, I don't think.
Yeah, Secret of Mana I never beat. They just remastered the third one for PSN. So yeah,
And also 1 and 2 is on iPad, so
Yeah,
I have one on the SNES Classic, so I might revisit that at some point, and then yeah, I'll probably do a run through of 6 at some point again.
Just takes so much time.
Yeah,
and also I also feel Super Mario RPG is another one that takes some time, but the amount of care that was put into that game,
I've
it's
heard nothing but good things, but have yet to play that.
worth it.
But yeah, that's on the SNES Classic too, so I'll probably do that at some point. But yeah, I mean, the quarantines. It was the first time I played video games in a long time. Partly thanks to Craig.
Yeah. Do you think because it's episodic, right? In some ways, or it's broken up. Like how
With
much content, or how does that work on?
for FF7 remake.
Yeah.
It's the Midgar section, but they've added so much with they basically fleshed out all the towns. So you can run around town and do like stupid little side quests. So there is a good 30 to 40 hours worth of content in there. And also I don't want to spoil anything, but we don't know what's going to happen in the next parts.
Yeah. How many are there planned to be?
There's gonna be at least 2 to 3 more parts. But yeah, there's enough content in here to justify like the price of a game. But yeah, I mean, you guys can just wait for it to go on sale or borrow my copy.
How many wings are you gonna have in the sequels?
I don't know, but if you liked 7 at all in the past, you should play this. There's enough new stuff in there to make it worth your while.
What if you liked 7, but you really liked Red?
You play this, and then Red will be in part 2. He's gonna be there.
What if you're a big fan of Twilight?
I don't know what that means.
Is there a vampire gunner character that you can play as?
I assume he'll be in the other parts, probably part 3 or something. I don't. What did he appear on disc 3 or disc 2 in the original one?
I think it was the end of 2. I think it was the end of 2 when he showed up.
So he'll probably appear in the 3rd part for this upcoming one, and then, yeah, they're drawing from all the FF7 stuff. So not just core FF7. They're drawing from all the other related material as well. So yeah, that and like people argue about the graphics between this and Advent Children, and it's pretty close. It's getting there.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that and just hearing the updated soundtrack, the remixes to the soundtrack it's cool. It'll bring out some nostalgia. But yeah, like I want this to do well so they can do remakes of the other ones. So like 8 or 6. I really want 6 to be made into this kind of style. That'd be awesome. But yeah, with the Unreal Engine, I think that's what they're using. And other stuff they have. Yeah, they put time and care into this one.
Yeah, I don't know if they would though, because I think 7 was one that kind of just reached a greater, just mass market in the general public, because I think 6 is beloved by everyone who is a gamer for them, but I think the PlayStation just gotten to so many more people's hands.
I have a hope that that on the next gen 10 will get that treatment, because it took 2 gens later for 7 to come out. So
yeah, like I never played 1 through 5, but I don't know if they have the same narrative as some, as 6 and beyond. But yeah, I want more of these to get the treatment that 7 has gotten. 7, I think the mainstream people are like, oh, this is the greatest, but like true FF fans will never hold 7 as the greatest FF. A lot of people hold 6, 9, and then 10 as, I think those are the front runners of the best ones. But yeah, hopefully they don't take too long coming out with all the parts of the remake either. So yeah, we'll get something, and then Red will be in the next one. Raymond Brethren will be in the next part.
Well, sorry to cut this short, gentlemen, but somebody needs to go to the bathroom, apparently.
Well, our time's probably running down too, so yeah. I think we did a good cursory view of RPGs.
Yeah.
And you can find us on Facebook, Twitter. What else are we on? We're not on Twitch.
We will be.
No, what else are we on? Are we on Gmail? I don't know. Well, yeah, you can find us at Nerdin'In on those various social media platforms, and we will have more content coming. So thanks for tuning in. Raymond has to go pee, so that'll be it for us tonight. All right. Good night, everyone.